In today's On the Road segment, Chuck visited the Boston Computer Museum. Oops, I called it by the wrong name.
That's right, you did call it by the wrong name. It is the Computer Museum, Rich. And you know, you're always complaining that I never bring you anything back. Well,
That's right.
I've got something for you this time. I've got this key card. It says the Networked Planet, the Computer Museum. So I'm going to try to see if you can figure out what this is all about. But there's a little gift for you from Boston.
Why, thank you, Chuck. I haven't seen such a piece of cardboard in a long time. I really...
So what do you think that's all about?
It authorizes me to get into something. I haven't figured out what yet.
That's right. That is your login ID at the Boston Computer Museum, that you log into their virtual network.
Cool.
Okay? The Computer Museum is the only museum devoted solely to people and computers. Most people hear about the 50 times scale walk-through computer. But in November 1994, the museum opened a $2 million exhibit called the Networked Planet, Traveling the Information Superhighway. I've visited this museum a number of times over the year, and each time I go, I see new and interesting exhibits, and I encourage people to keep going each time. Recently, I was in Boston and had a chance to visit the Computer Museum one Saturday morning. So I visited with Gail Jeunesse, Director of Public Relations of the Computer Museum, and she gave me a brief tour of the exhibit. It's a short walk from downtown Boston to the Computer Museum. The Computer Museum is located on a wharf in Boston Harbor. Recently, my family and I were on the road in Boston, and we stopped in for a visit.
This is for Computer Museum.
History, which is the other thing that's, you know, very important about our museum. We have these wonderful interactive exhibits, about over 150 of them all around the museum that can introduce you to everything about computers. And then we also have a fantastic collection, which is at the very center of the museum's mission as well, because we want to preserve really important artifacts. And here you've got, for example, a box from the Boston Telegraphic Fire Alarm System, and that happens to be the first one in operation in this country.
Right. I think one of the things that I found neat about this museum first time I came was the fact that, you know, we computer people think this is all just, we're going to throw it away and we're going to move on, but we're creating history, you know, and we create history just more rapidly these days than we used to.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, you know, and you know, we
Look
just
at this.
throw it
What
away.
did you say? The telephone, Alexander Graham Bell. The telephone reminds me of a child, only it grows much more rapidly. What is before it in the future, no man can tell. We opened the walk-through computer in 1990 because so many people were using personal computers and didn't understand how they worked or what the magic was inside the little box that enabled them to do all these neat things. So we decided the best way to introduce people to how it works was to create one that was a model, a 50 times scale model of a real computer, which people could actually operate, and then walk inside and see where the parts were and how they all work together. And now that it's 5 years later and everybody is upgrading, well, so are we. And we're going to upgrade our computer and make it multimedia. There'll be a Pentium chip in there instead of a 486. There'll be a giant CD-ROM player, a modem, a whole new hard drive, much more powerful. Everything will be more powerful, more souped up. Lots of bells and whistles. Right now we are in the Networked Planet, Traveling the Information Highway at the museum. And what we do in the Networked Planet is in an hour to give people who may be beginners or may be experts a sampling of what it means to live in the networked world in which we now do. And you actually get to experience, get your hands on computer networks. And first we ask you to log into our own network. It's a special one that's been created for the exhibit, and it's really a microcosm of the many networks that we use in our lives. After you log in, you you then experience what it's like to take a ride inside a phone line. The phone line is the very basis of all networks. You then go to 3 different areas in which you can find out using live feeds from the FAA. You get to see all the traffic that's in the air in any one moment. We also introduce you to some of the kinds of things that networks do to improve the quality of our lives. One example being in medicine, in medical care. You can actually bring people together from remote communities and hook them up to experts in city hospitals so that they can together come up with a good diagnosis for somebody. And in the final area of the exhibit, we've got a number of stations which enable you to get right out on the internet yourselves. This summer, we have internet seminars for beginners. In 1/2 hour, you can be out on the highway yourself, exploring things, and it's a guided sort of tour and introduction to the internet.
My name is Brian Lee.
And you are the web
I am
spinner.
the web spinner at the Computer Museum.
Oh, how long have you been doing that?
Total for about a year.
Oh, okay.
Been working on the project. We've been online for roughly 6 months, I'd say. So, Macintosh 660 AV that's used for development. This is a PC that has a model of the walkthrough computer on it that's going to be at SIGGRAPH.
Okay.
This is a VRML browser, which is a way to do virtual reality over the web. This is a powered Macintosh that I use mostly for development. The next one, this is actually the web server. It's a Spark station, graphics workstation.
So where's your network connection? Where's your T1 come in?
Our T1 actually comes in over here with the 9X box over there, and it goes to this router here, fiber optic cable.
And we have at the museum our own web page. Our web address is www.tcm.org. That means that anyone that has access to the web via a web browser can come visit us at any time.
Well, Rich, that's the end of my report from the Computer Museum here in Boston, Massachusetts. In keeping with our tradition, I'm bringing you back a souvenir. It's a coffee cup. It's called the Network Planet from the Computer Museum. Hope you like it. See you back in the studio.
Well, that's very interesting, Charles. All I seem to have in my hot little hands is this little piece of cardboard.
Well, it's interesting. The funniest thing happened. As soon as we stopped taping that, I tripped and fell. It's the planks, and I dropped it into the Boston Harbor, and it sank to the very bottom. So I'm sorry. I mean, I asked him to send me another cup.
It is a shame that the cup went instead of you. Oh, look here. What's this?
No, I did. Here's your cup. Finally, you get something real. I mean, I got the baseball from you, and there's your cup.
This is beautiful. I will treasure it always.
I would expect that you would.